Let me make one thing clear before we begin. This video is not about war, and it is not about politics. War destroys lives, families, and entire societies. Human life is precious, and no technology should ever make us forget that. But sometimes, technology becomes so advanced, so complex, that understanding it helps us understand the world we live in. Recently, during the conflict between United States and Iran, a tragic incident brought one particular weapon back into the global spotlight. A girls' school in Minab was destroyed in a missile strike that reportedly killed more than 160 people. Videos, satellite imagery, and weapons analysts suggested that the missile involved may have been a Tomahawk cruise missile, one of the most advanced precision weapons in modern warfare. However, the investigation is still ongoing, and responsibility for the strike remains disputed. But this tragedy, once again, raised an important question. What exactly is the Tomahawk cruise missile? How can a missile travel thousands of kilometers, navigate complex terrain, avoid radar, and hit targets with such precision? And perhaps even more interesting, why has the United States kept such tight control over this technology for decades? Today, we're not here to debate the conflict. Instead, we're going under the hood of the technology itself. Because sometimes understanding the technology reveals a deeper story about power, engineering, and the future of warfare. This is Tech Underhood. And today, we're going under the hood of the Tomahawk cruise missile. Let's begin. Section 1. What exactly is a cruise missile? To understand why the Tomahawk cruise missile is so feared and respected, we first need to understand what a cruise missile actually is. Most people imagine missiles as rockets that shoot straight into the sky and fall back down at incredible speeds. But cruise missiles work very differently. Instead of flying high into space like ballistic missiles, cruise missiles behave more like pilotless aircraft. They fly low, slow, and extremely precise. Imagine a small robotic airplane carrying a powerful payload. After launch, it opens its wings, activates its engine, and begins flying toward its destination, sometimes over 1,500 kilometers away. But here's the fascinating part. It doesn't just fly in a straight line. It navigates like a human pilot would, avoiding mountains, following valleys, flying over oceans, and sometimes even changing its route mid-flight. Which leads to an important question. How does a missile with no pilot know exactly where it's going? Section 2. The Invisible Navigation System. The secret behind the Tomahawk lies in its navigation systems. And interestingly, it doesn't rely on just one. It uses several systems working together. First is GPS navigation. Just like the maps on your smartphone, the missile can use satellite signals to determine its position on Earth. But GPS alone isn't reliable in warfare. Signals can be jammed or blocked. So engineers built something even more clever. A system called TERCOM, which stands for Terrain Contour Matching. This system works by comparing the terrain below the missile with a stored digital map of the Earth. As the missile flies, it constantly scans the ground beneath it. If the hills, valleys, or terrain shapes match the stored map, the missile knows exactly where it is. It's almost like the missile is reading the landscape. But there's an even more advanced system. Near the final stage of its flight, the missile can activate something called digital scene matching. This system compares real-time images of the target area with preloaded images. If the buildings, roads, and terrain match the stored image, the missile knows it has reached the exact location. That's how it can strike with extraordinary precision, which raises another question. If it's so precise, why is it so difficult to stop? Section 3. Why radar struggles to detect it. One of the most dangerous characteristics of the Tomahawk is how it flies. Unlike traditional missiles that travel high in the sky, cruise missiles fly extremely low, sometimes just 30 to 50 meters above the ground. This is called terrain-hugging flight. By staying so close to the surface, the missile can remain hidden from many radar systems. Radar works best when objects are high in the sky. But when something flies low, mountains, buildings, and the curvature of the Earth can block radar signals. This allows the missile to approach targets quietly and unexpectedly. And because it flies like a small aircraft, it can change direction during the mission. That means the launch point and the target may be separated by oceans, mountains, or entire countries. Which leads to another fascinating fact. These missiles are often launched from hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away. So where exactly are they launched from? Section 4. Where Tomahawk missiles are launched from. The Tomahawk was designed to be extremely flexible. It can be launched from warships and submarines operated by the United States Navy. Imagine a submarine deep underwater in the middle of the ocean. Suddenly, a hatch opens. A missile shoots upward through the water, breaks through the surface, deploys its wings, and begins flying toward a target on land hundreds of kilometers away. Within minutes, it becomes a robotic aircraft navigating across entire regions. This ability gives the United States something very valuable in military strategy: the ability to strike without deploying pilots or aircraft into dangerous airspace, which is one reason these missiles have been used in several conflicts over the past 3 decades. From Operation Desert Storm to strikes during the Syrian civil war, Tomahawks have often been used in the first wave of attacks. But here's something many people don't realize. Despite decades of use, the United States rarely exports this missile system. And that raises an interesting question. Why keep such powerful technology so tightly controlled? Section 5. Why the U.S. rarely exports the Tomahawk. In the world of military technology, information is power. And sometimes, the real advantage isn't the weapon itself, it's the technology inside it. The Tomahawk represents decades of research in navigation, stealth, propulsion, and targeting systems. Sharing that technology could allow other countries to reverse engineer or replicate it. There are also international agreements that limit the spread of long-range missile technology. One of them is the Missile Technology Control Regime, which restricts the export of missile systems capable of delivering large payloads over long distances. Because of these concerns, the United States has historically kept Tomahawk exports extremely limited. Only a few close allies have been considered for access to certain variants. Even then, the technology shared is often carefully restricted. But despite this secrecy, other countries have developed their own cruise missile systems. Nations like Russia, China, and India operate different types of cruise missiles as well, which means the race for advanced missile technology is constantly evolving. And that brings us to the bigger question. Section 6. The technology behind modern warfare. When people hear about weapons like the Tomahawk, the focus is often on destruction. But from a technological perspective, these systems represent some of the most advanced engineering ever created. They combine satellite navigation, artificial intelligence algorithms, terrain mapping databases, miniature jet engines, advanced guidance computers, all packed inside a flying machine roughly the size of a small motorcycle. It's a reminder of how far technology has evolved. Machines that once required human pilots can now navigate the world completely on their own. And while these technologies are developed for military purposes, many of them eventually influence civilian technologies. GPS navigation, satellite imaging, autonomous systems. Many of the technologies we use every day started in military research, which brings us back to the purpose of this channel. At Tech Underhood, we don't just look at gadgets or smartphones. We explore the systems behind the technology shaping our world. Because understanding technology isn't about supporting conflict. It's about understanding how engineering, innovation, and power intersect in the modern world. And the Tomahawk cruise missile is one of the clearest examples of that intersection. A machine capable of navigating across continents without a pilot, guided by satellites, terrain maps, and advanced algorithms. It's both fascinating and a reminder of how powerful technology has become. But now I want to hear from you. Do you think weapons like the Tomahawk represent technological progress? Or do they show how dangerous technology can become when used in warfare? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring the technology behind complex systems, make sure to subscribe to Tech Underhood. Because in the next video, we might go under the hood of something even more surprising. Until then, stay curious.